right? Assessment. So assessment means assessing the costs. Is it nothing but this is also allocation. See, allocation is of different types. Number one, manual allocation. Number two, allocation by way of distribution. Allocation by way of assessment. In case of manual allocation, that is nothing but manual distribution of costs. That is manual reposting of cost from one cost center to other cost center. Number two, distribution. So distribution is also nothing but allocation of expenses from one cost center to other cost center. But all primary costs, whatever that you have posted to one cost center, that has to be posted to other cost centers. The best example is that in case of plant or wherever it may be, when you are incurring expenses, that will be posted to one cost center in the beginning. Subsequently, at the month end, that expenses has to be allocated to all other cost centers. For example, water charges, electricity charges, telephone, or anything like this. What are the common expenses that we are going to incur? That should be incurred first. At the time of making the payment or incurring, we post to one cost center. But the benefit of that is going to be taken by all the departments. If it is electricity charges, right, every department is incurring. Water charges, every department is using. So like that, the primary cost of that water or electricity charges, first we post to one cost center, then subsequently it will be reposted to all other cost centers by way of distribution cycle. Since that reposting requires so many cost centers, I cannot do it manually like in the manual reposting. That is the reason what we do, we create a distribution cycle and we tell to the system what is the percentages that at what rate that we have to distribute to all other cost centers. So that is called a distribution. Distribution has to be done only for the primary costs. Like this, see, electricity charges, water charges, with same GL account number, whatever we have created, in that way we have created the cost element, right? That cost element is going to be distributed to all other departments. So when we distribute expenses, the receiving cost center also receives with same name, right? The meaning of this is receiving cost center also receives the same name, cost center actual line items 400-305 to 400-308, and here I'll take better SAP 1. If you execute it, see, first of all we have posted extra charges to this cost center, that is 1001, right, with extra charges. Now this has been 10,000 has been removed from here and posted to other cost center. Minus means here it is removed. Here in this case minus 10,000 plus 10,000 here because it is posted to same cost center. And rest of the things are posted to all other cost centers, minus, minus, minus. Right? Similarly, water charges first we have posted to finance cost center, again posted to all other cost centers including finance. So like this, minus, minus, minus. And here it is plus. So 20,000 there reduced and here it is added. Right, water charges. So here you can see the primary cost there and here the same primary cost you can see here. Right? But in case of assessment, there is a difference here. In case of assessment, say for example, assessment of canteen expenses. Canteen cost center, say we have created with 2004. Electricity charges that are incurred by the canteen cost center. Canteen staff salaries, right? Canteen subsidy. Subsidy means nothing but, say for example, every company will provide to the employees the subsidized food rates. If the breakfast is outside, it is 50 rupees. Here it will be, you'll get it only for 10 rupees. And lunch, say suppose it is 80 rupees outside, here it will be provided at maybe 20 to 30 rupees. The differential amount is called subsidy. Company will be incurring subsidy, right? That will be paid to the canteen owner. But canteen owner only collects nominal amount from the employees and the differential amount is he will be receiving from the company. So the differential amount is nothing but that is a subsidy. So like this, first of all, when you are going to maintain cost center of canteen, you will be incurring say water charges, right? So like this we can so what are the expenses that we incur? So this is called the total expenses in the canteen cost center. So total expenses for canteen is 4,55,000. Now the canteen is a cost center we have defined. If you remember, I think I have defined cost center master data, cost center group, change, right? See P&A division. Say we have office maintenance canteen, office canteen. So we have maintained even canteen also, canteen cost center. Now here, canteen cost center is being, canteen has incurred 4,55,000. This 4,55,000 has to be distributed to, that is allocated to all these cost centers. Because all these cost centers, there is the finance. Here, say here, corporate finance. This is corporate accounts. $1,003. Oh, it is there already. Sorry. 1003, 2001, 2002, 2003. Like this we have. Right. This is corporate accounts, and this is corporate audit. This is admin. This is HR, and this is admin department. This is time office. Right. So 2004 is nothing but canteen. Anyway, canteen not required here because we are going to incur the expenses for maintenance of canteen, 4,55,000. See, canteen by itself is not a production department or service department. It is only supporting department. Supporting means by providing food, everything to all other employees, those who are working in different departments. So that's why ultimately whatever the cost that you are going to incur for the purpose of maintaining the canteen, that has to be distributed to all other departments. For corporate finance, corporate accounts, corporate audit, right, HR, admin, so production department, whoever it may be, to all the employees of all the departments of the company, right, wherever that whoever are going to use the services of canteen has to be allocated, right? That is the concept, right? You try to understand the difference between the assessment and distribution. In the distribution, what are the expenses that we have incurred directly, like water, electricity, etc. Right, they are primary costs that at the time of making payment we posted to one cost center. Subsequently, whoever are going to use that electricity or water, all these departments will get their respective share in the expenses. right? Now similarly, whatever the expenses that are incurred by the cost center canteen has to be allocated to all other departments, whoever are taking the advantage or benefit of this canteen, right? Now, now see here, the main difference between assessment and distribution is that in case of distribution, all primary cost, whatever we have incurred, electricity charges distributed with the same name, water charges distributed with same name. But whereas here, the total of expenses, whatever you are going to get, expenses for canteen are this, and this I am going to distribute. At the time of posting the distribution, at the time of posting the expenses to all other cost centers, with what name you are going to distribute. Because in case of distribution, with same name, system will allocate the cost to all other cost centers. But here, we are not allocating cost element wise. There we have allocated by element wise. But here what I'm going to do is, I'm not allocating these costs to all these cost centers by cost element wise. Only the total expenses that are accumulated in the canteen cost centers, I want to allocate to all other cost centers. So that is the main thing, right? So with what are the percentages we have, similar percentages we can allocate the costs. That is the purpose. Okay. Now for this purpose, we have to create a secondary cost element. The total has to be distributed. What is the cost carrier? The cost carrier is, in case of distribution, cost element, primary cost element is the cost carrier here. Primary cost element is the cost carrier. But whereas here, not primary cost, rather secondary cost element. Secondary cost element is the cost carrier. So secondary cost element means what? This. The total of expenses I am going to create, right, like one secondary cost element. Secondary cost element is only a cost element which is going to be used for the internal allocation of expenses. Internal allocation means within the controlling area, not outside the controlling area. So here, the assessment. So period end closing. So cost center accounting. Just give me a second. I'll be back. here what we are going to do now in case of assessment, unlike in the distribution, we are going to allocate the total expenses that are incurred by the canteen to all the cost centers, that whoever are going to utilize the services, utilize the canteen services, right? Maybe different percentages, 10%, 15%, whatever it may be, right? Based on the number of employees that are there, right? So that is called assessment. There is the purpose of the assessment. So for that assessment, yeah.
Anand, for every cost center assessment can be done?
Every cost center, it is not like that, depending upon the requirement, right? But in case of scenario, even, yeah, if you want to distribute corporate finance to other cost centers, yes, we have to do it. Like this, we have to create different cycles. Ultimately, in case of a real scenario, the total expenses that are incurred by all the functional cost center is going to be distributed to the production cost center. Yes, for all cost centers we have to execute, finally distribute to the production cost centers. In order to distribute all production costs, that is to be distributed to the, allocated to the products.
Okay. So both distribution and assessment processes are required in the real scenario. It's nothing like that we can use the alternative of these two, like either distribution or assessment.
See, one thing what we need to remember is this assessment and distribution are not given by SAP. That is the actual requirement of costing requirement of the companies, right? That costing requirement of the companies have been mapped into SAP. Got my point? These are the not processes defined by SAP. These are the business processes. These are the costing requirements of every company, right? So these requirements, if you study, I think you are a, I think, have you gone through the controlling?
Yeah, yes, Anand, a bit. I have started with that.
No, not here, SAP. I am speaking about your subject knowledge. What is your qualification? BCom, MCom, MBA, or CA, SBA?
BCom. Just BCom.
Okay. Okay, in BCom also we have that, but of course we long back we have studied, I think. So it is difficult for us to remember, I know. But in case if you study ICAA or CA, there will be in-depth requirement. So why we are going to allocate expenses from one cost center to other cost center? The purpose I told you already, primary cost function I told you, that is distribution I told you in detail. Similarly, assessment. So the difference between assessment and distribution is, in case of distribution, we allocate primary cost as it is. But here we are allocating the total of all the primary cost is created, and the total, this is defined as secondary cost element, and that is going to be distributed. In case of primary, all primary cost elements itself we have distributed. So depending upon the nature of the distribution, we need to take up whether it is assessment or distribution. So for creating distribution cycle, I need to create assessment cost element. Assessment cost element means here, see here, in case electricity charges means, yes, we have a cost element for that. Say here, electricity charges, say 400, 305. Similarly, 400, 308 water charges. Like that we have created, this is the cost element. Right? But here in this case, see, this is a primary cost, this is a primary cost. But even these are all primary costs. But here in case of assessment, we are not going to distribute these costs. We are not individually. we are collectively one cost element we take and we distribute it. We allocate it. So there is a difference between the distribution and allocation. Sorry, distribution and assessment. Yeah, let us see this. First, we have to create a secondary cost element. What is secondary cost element? Right, this is the total amount. For this, we have to create a secondary cost element. But the secondary cost element looks something peculiar. Say here, first of all, create assessment cost element. KA06 is the T code. Cost element number I have to use. What is my cost element number? So secondary cost element is a cost element. See, I told you, if you remember or not, what is a primary cost element? Primary cost element is an element which is defined as an expense in financial accounting, right? And with same number we are going to create primary cost element, right? So to create a primary cost element, it should have a backup of GL account. Your water charges, electricity charges, everything we have created already as a GL account in financial accounting. With same number, it will create as a cost element. But in case of secondary cost element, for this you should not have a cost element which has been already defined in financial accounting, right? If it is with 400 etc., I cannot create, because already with 400 I am creating GL accounts in financial accounting. So that's why here what I need to use a cost element number which you should take, which should not have already been used as a GL account number. Got it? So this number should not have been used as a GL account in financial accounting. So that's why what I will do is I start with 9 lakhs 42,001. Why I am taking 42? Because if you remember, we have created primary cost element KA01. When you create primary cost element, what is the primary cost element category we have used? This is the category we have used. For all these things we have used the cost element category is this. 1. What is 1? Primary cost or cost reducing revenues. Right, primary cost. Primary cost nothing but all your GL account whatever you have created. Now I'm going to create secondary cost element with 42. See, this is assessment. We call it as assessment cost element. Let us see, once you do this you'll understand. Right, why I am using 942 means 9 means a number which is higher number, which will never be created as a GL account in financial accounting. 42 indicates the cost element category, right? If you remember, see, with cost element category we have created it. If you remember, see, go to FS00, say 400 301, nothing but office rent. So we have already created the cost element with primary cost element category 1, primary cost, right? So this primary cost element category is 1 always. 1 is primary cost or cost reducing revenues. Similarly, I am going to create a cost element with cost element category 42. So that's why in the number itself I am giving like 9,42,001. So 42 is assessment cost element. In this 001 first cost element. Right? So take the 1/4/2013 onwards. This is the secondary cost element name is assessment of say canteen costs, right? Secondary cost element, otherwise you can say like this. canteen costs. Cost element category 42. Assessment, right? Like this I have to create. Create assessment cost element. Next, maintain assessment. Create actual assessment. I am creating DR02. Start date 1/4. So DR01 I already have created for primary cost element. DR02 I am creating it. Allocation of primary cost is the previous one. Now allocation of secondary costs. The cycle name is allocation of secondary costs. Attach segment. See, the cycle creation is same just like distribution cycle. Segment name. So here segment name I'll give 9,42,001. Nothing but this is allocation of canteen costs. Now assessment cost element. If you click this, only whatever that you have created that will be visible here. Right, again sender rule, receiver rule, same, everything is same. Posted amounts. Right, receiver rule, variable amount, fixed percentages I want to take. All other things will go away. So by using this cost element, I'm going to distribute, or sorry, I'm going to allocate the cost of secondary cost. Receivers. Right, once we complete it, you'll understand. Say cost center. So cost center is which is the receiving cost center here, sending cost center. Sending cost center is nothing but canteen, because from canteen I want to allocate the costs from canteen to all other cost centers. So that's why here the cost center is going to be canteen, that is 2004. 2004 admin manager office canteen. Now 2004 to receiver cost centers are 1001 to 2003. I am not distributing to 2004 again, because ultimately the total cost of the canteen has to be borne by all the departments whoever are using the services of the canteen. Right? So this is the assessment cycle. Sender values not required. Receiving factor, right, 1001, how much you are going to distribute? Say 15%. Some base. Right, here this percentage will be given to us by the user company. Say 20%. So 35. Again 20, 55. 5, 10, 65, 20, 15. So they are the percentages I am using to distribute to this. From this cost center, canteen cost center, to all other cost centers we are distributing. That is, we are allocating the costs. Now distribution cycle, I'll say this as assessment cycle. All right. Assessment cycle. So if you understand distribution, assessment is also very simple. But the complication here is only the secondary cost element. There we use primary cost element. Here we are using secondary cost element. So like this, any number of segments we can attach. Right? Only one I have done. So DR02. Once this is done with, that's all finish. Assessment cycle is over. Now what I will do is I need to incur these expenses. Electricity charges, canteen subsidy. Already electricity charges and water charges are there in the canteen. Let us see here. In case of reporting, case B1, line item, say case B1, see already electricity charges, water charges are posted to this canteen because by way of distribution we have posted it, right? So rest of the expenses only, say for example canteen subsidy and canteen staff salaries will post, right? So these two are already done with, of course not the same amount, different amount. See 15,000, 10,000 that has already been posted to 2004 cost center. Electricity water by way of primary distribution we have done. So what I will do is, sorry. So let me post one entry. Go to F-02. First of all, should I? Say canteen, okay, salaries we have, subsidy we do not have. Let me see where I can create 406, HFC 200, 406, 400, 304, 400, 104, 301. In the administrative expenses, I'll create 6, 7, 8, 9 is not there, right? 8 is water charges. I want to create company code. This is also automatically created. So 400, 309 is canteen subsidy. Say I'm incurring around say 2,50,000. 2,50,000. And cost center, first of all I am posting to canteen cost center 204, that is 2004. Right, this is test for assessment. Similarly, what are the expenses? Say canteen, water charges, already LCG is there. Canteen staff salaries, let us post that also. Again take 40. I think 400, 101. It comes under wages. Right, staff salaries. So this is 1,50,000. Cost center 2004. Test for assessment 50. Bank 200. 405 is my bank account. The total amount here is, I take star. So business area star, I'll take plus here. So 4 lakhs we have incurred. Post it. So 4 lakhs we have incurred on account of canteen subsidy and other things, and that has been posted to 2004 cost center. So if you see this one, say case B1, cost center is 2004. Right. So let me see what are the expenses. See here, staff salaries 150, office rent, telephone expenses, electricity charges 15,000. Right, water charges 10,000. Canteen subsidy to see staff salaries and canteen subsidy only I have posted directly. So rest of all these things we have already posted when distribution is done, and direct posting also we have done it. Right. So now 4,49,900 is there. So this has to be distributed to all the cost centers. So for that all the percentages, everything we have given. Right, now simply execute the assessment cycle. But before assessment cycle, we need to assign one transaction code, that is business process, to our controlling CANK, KANK, DRCA groups. Actual overhead distribution we have assigned RKIU. I think this is RKIV. RKIU actual overhead assessment. So actual overhead assessment. Assign like this. Now next is assessment. Already expenses are posted and that are there in the canteen cost center that we have seen now. That is case B1. See here, case B1, 2004 cost center. Total how much? 4,49,900. Now I'm going to execute my assessment cycle at the month end. Actual postings. Period end closing. Single functions, allocations, assessment. This we have already done. Distribution, KSU5 assessment. Right, cycle name DR02, allocation of secondary costs for the month of 8th month. Everything system has taken. Execute. So we are doing the test run first. So processing completed without errors. Sender is only one. See 4 lakh. This is the cost center. That cost element. This is the cost center. So this is secondary cost element, the total. So whatever is the total cost of this is what I told you, this total. 100%, right? Who are the 6 cost centers? Receiver cost centers. So these are the cost centers that are received. 1001, 2, 3, 2001, 2002, 2003, like that. All these are all, they are the departments which are using canteen. So that's why the total expenses is going to be distributed to all other departments like this. Yes. Remove the test run, then post it. So processing completed without errors. Let's go and see the line items, KSB1. Right. Now if you see 2004 cost center, previously up to here it was. Now as per the percentages given, minus, 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 all this minus. Now in the canteen cost center it is 0. Let us see other cost centers. (2001) to, sorry, not 2001, 1001. 1001 to 2003. Let us see now. Better to take always SAP 1. Execute it. We'll do one thing, we'll restrict the cost element also. Secondary cost element only we'll take. See this one. So for this cost centers, this I want to see. See canteen costs. For 1001, 1002, 1003, 1001, 2001, 2002, 2003, at these rates, system has posted it. Total 4,49,000 has been distributed or allocated from canteen cost center to these cost centers, because these cost centers are utilizing the canteen cost center. So canteen cost center is not a service, is only a service cost center. It is not a functional cost center like finance, accounts, etc. Right? Got it? Any doubt on this? Right? And you also read the theory clearly, what is meant by assessment and distribution. So distribution, assessment is nothing but finally, if you are going to allocate the costs, the total costs that are accumulated in one cost center to other cost centers, right, by way of using secondary cost element. So that is the main thing. And in case of distribution, primary cost element. Right, so let me stop recording. So report also you have seen like this.
I have a small doubt.
Yeah.
You said that in distribution